let's define. There are some assumptions in linear programming problem. Everything have got some assumptions associated with that, because we cannot directly map a real time or complex task into a simplified mathematical entity, but we will do some approximation, and that is what we call assumptions. And this is all called formulation appropriateness. We formulate the real world problem into mathematical concepts and will solve using mathematical methodologies. Linear programming problem is such a mathematical formulation of the real world scenario. So in order to construct or to convert that linguistic variables and other related stuffs into the mathematical concepts, we will formulate some assumptions. That's basically assumptions in linear programming problem. So why do we have these assumptions? Or like for mathematical solvability. So otherwise it will be trivial and we will not get any solution at all. So that's the basic reason we will look into the assumptions. Right. The first assumption is the certainty or deterministic. The reason is that if you don't have a variable or a coefficient value not known early, then it will be very difficult for you to formulate a linear programming problem. All these things are linear, it's fine, it's very simple and simplified, but we should have some amount of certainty of all the coefficients, right, to calculate the optimal value or the value for the decision variables. As simple as that. As mentioned here, the value of the coefficients, Ci is the coefficient of the decision variable in the objective function, and Aji is the value of coefficient in the constraint equations associated with the corresponding decision variable, and Bj are the right hand side coefficients, and all these things should be known prior, or that's basically an assumption. You should know that you should know that very clear, then only you can able to solve the linear programming problem, right? And generally in a real time scenario, if in a company, if they use LPP for decision making, then they will deploy experts and with people with sound knowledge to jot down the values for the coefficients, as simple as that. Right? And if sometimes for research projects, people do a survey, they collect data from the realistic perspective, then they put down the values for the coefficients. That's how they get the perfect solution or something like that. There's a saying, right? I think well begin is half done. So as simple as that. So if you have a good inputs, then calculation, and that will certainly yields a fruitful output. As simple as that. And sometimes the optimality gets altered if you don't have a perfect correct input function or the values for the coefficient. So that's why it's very important to know those things in certainty, or that should be deterministic. That should not change within the duration of your assessment. Like if you jot down the values, then finally you should not bring in the change during the solving the linear programming problem. All those problem which we see is a mathematical abstract as for a theoretical perspective, but those have real meaning in real industrial perspective. So any change brought in may not be accepted. So that's not gonna be very useful for the decision making, something like that. Sometimes we may as a researcher we may see to that, like we'll do a lot of simulations, like we'll put one value and check the optimal solution, then we'll try to do what happens, what if analysis, like what happens if the coefficient is varied, and see the optimal, is there's any change in the optimal, or we does that converges to more optimal or something like that. So those things are called post optimality stage. This is a little bit advanced concept, so we may not cover in this course. But understand that post optimality or sensitivity analysis are very, very important in linear programming problem. That makes a real sense of your optimal solution, something like that. People use parametric linear programming and probabilistic constrained linear programming and chance constrained linear programming and stochastic linear programming. Sometimes a mixture of both, these things, or among this, they have a mixture of all the linear programming problems can be used to aid in case of the certainty was not met or something like that, or for the post optimality or something like that. So this is a little bit advanced or something like that. So it's not, you don't have to really worry about, but understand this is an assumption that you should really look into. Another important thing is physiology. If the variables are not very certain, it has got randomness and fuzziness, then you can use another modern linear programming problem called probabilistic or fuzzy linear programming problem. Probably you can use that for your final year project or something like that, so that will makes a lot of sense. You can optimize the parameters or something like that. So that's what basically it means. But the best part is you have to keep your coefficient values to be deterministic, as well as in beforehand in certainty, right, something like that. And proportionality or linearity. This is a very, very important assumption in linear programming problem. As we know, linear programming looks into the linearity and linear equations and so on. Our objective function is a linear function. Our constraints are linear function, and other associated elements like the calculations, the graphical methods are all linear perspective, right? Something like that. And this assumption also talks about proportionality, which means that a decision variable will yield a solution, and then that solution puts in into the objective function, and we will check if it maximizes or minimizes depending upon the requirement. In general, it optimizes the objective function, right? So what basically it means that there's a proportional between a constraint and the objective function. So the value obtained after solving your system of linear inequalities, and that gets input into your objective function, then to check whether it is good or not. So that's a proportionality between addition variables in both the paradigm, even in objective function as well as in the constraint equations. That's what it basically talks about. You can read this. I've explained this in detail with a lot of mathematical things. Supposing your decision variable or the coefficient of the decision variable increases when a quotient of a decision variable increases by a scalar k, it enhances the output also. So the objective function also gets enhanced by that particular scale. It could be positive, or it could be minimum, or it could be zero or something like that. So it just has an influence. That's what basically we try to achieve in this particular assumption. So in the proportionality, right? And the next is called additivity. So we don't use any multiplication in the objective function. We only look into the objective function to be sum of all the coefficients multiplied by the decision variables. We don't have any multiplication of decision variables either in objective function as well as in the constraint equations. So it's all additivity. So it's just like addition of all those things or something like that, right? And this is also called as linearity. And a very important thing is, like, sometimes people prefer non-linear programming for terms which have got a quadratic equation or something like that. But there's another way, but it's a kind of a different linear programming problem. It's called linear multiplicative programming, LMP, or generally people prefer, as I told, non-linear programming to solve those kind of issues, those kind of scenario where you have a multiplication of decision variables, something like that. And this proportionality assumption and additive assumptions are almost same, and those are called linear assumptions. As I mentioned, those has got the same thing, right? And divisibility and continuity, this is a very, very important thing. We have a value of decision variable continuous. In the first example, in a maximization problem, we have got x1 equals to 12 and x2 equals to 56. But if you talk about other examples, we'll be having decimal values also. But that's one important thing that you should really know. Like, this can gives you uh, a continuous value, say for example a value with decision variables. In case you want to have a strict integer, then you have to go to integer linear programming, not linear programming, because linear programming will yield solutions like 5.4 liters or something like that, and 6.25 feet or something like that, 98.4 degree Fahrenheit, something like that, right? Compressive strength of concrete is 35 0.57 Newton per millimeter square and something like that. But in case if you optimize people, number of workers required for a particular job, then sometimes if you encounter like 5.8 numbers, it's meaningless. You cannot have that. But if you if you approximate that to nearest decimal 6, then your objective may not, your objective function may not be optimized perfectly. In that case, you can go with integer programming, which is a special form of linear programming. Or sometimes when you have only zeros and ones in your assumptions as well as in your mathematical formulation, then there is another type of integer programming called 0 1. It's a binary integer programming, so you can use that for solving those kind of problems, right? Then it's finiteness or feasibility, right? So you remember the solution space we talked about when we solved the graphical method. We only have a finite solution, like you cannot have an infinite solution. Remember we talked about unboundedness when which we talked about the solution can range till infinity. So those things are not permitted, or we will be restricting those. But if you get it, then it's an unbounded solution. We don't able to get any solution at all. But in the assumption, we'll have a finite set only. Among the finite set, we'll have different solutions, and among the different solutions, we'll have an optimal solution. That could be unique optimal solution or multiple optimal solution. And generally, in graphical method, we could understand that in a 2D. Two variables LPP will have in the extreme corner points or something like that, right? So that's basically the finiteness. Sometimes we talked about unboundedness, where the um, values shoots to infinity. So you can still make use of a special type of linear programming called infinite programming or semi-infinite programming. So this is kind of a very advanced thing that understand that we can even still find in the unbounded solution space. But in a general linear programming problem, it will be very difficult or nearly impossible for us to understand the solution at the infinite area or something like that, right? So that's basically the assumptions. 5 assumptions like finiteness, divisibility, then additivity, then proportionality, then certainty, and something like that, right? And in additivity, we talked about addition, or sometimes you'll get a negative value also. But there isn't any term called subtractivity. There isn't any assumption called subtractivity, because subtraction is the reverse of addition, right? It's just like plus into minus of the coefficient or minus the coefficient asset. So doesn't make any difference. So that's what basically we don't have subtractivity, but it's just an addition of all positive and negative values of the coefficient. So that's why we remember in the standard linear programming problem, we define the coefficients are unrestricted in sign. So they don't have really any signs associated with that. They can take negative value, 0, or any positive value or something like that. But that's not true for decision variables. Decision variables only take up either 0 or any positive value, depending upon the solution, right? So that's basically the assumption, right? So this completes the assumption. Let me close this for a moment. Let me share the other important thing. Yeah, here it is, right? So we talked about the assumptions. Let's focus on the application, right? So since linear programming is considered to be very simplified method, but its applications or like multifold or manifold. So it could be applied to multitudinous areas like production and project management, like for mechanical engineering, agricultural and farm optimization, food processing, construction and manufacturing industry, its associated optimization problems, then resource allocations, like people who do management degree, they study resource management. So in that case, LPP plays a crucial role. And the product mix problems, then inventory management, then machining, machine and project scheduling, then production smoothing, like how do you optimize people and how to optimize shifts and something like that, and product blending, um, new product development and refining, fixed charges, then cutting and optimizing the cut stocks and something like that, and trim loss problems, and so many other things. Like, this is not an exhaustive list, but I could able to provide you some examples of application or the areas of applications of linear programming problem. And equally important area is transportation, in which people do a transportation scheduling, then routing. Our module 2 is on transportation problem. So we'll be looking at transportation in a greater sense, and shortest route problem, traveling salesman problem, knapsack problem. Knapsack problem is something like you optimize your baggage, because if you want to go for a trekking, you cannot take huge load, but instead you have to take minimum load with the most required materials or object required for trekking or something like that. Right? Something, say one example I can give you is, you can carry a small pack of biscuits and some pack of other eatables items, but think of, if you dump in huge number of those, then your basic materials like clothings, then torchlight, or something which is required for trekking may not be accommodated in a knapsack or a bag. So those optimization is called knapsack problem. Then facility location, how do you locate elements? Like, how do you place the items from one place to another? Like, or how do you move from one? How do you transport? Oh, that's called transshipment problem. But then it's just like a facility location or something like that. And assignment problem, how do you assign a job to a person or multiple people working in a factory in order to have a lesser idle time and more productivity? And cargo loading problem is as simple as a knapsack problem. How do you reorient your cargos, I mean the in a storage units, so that you can optimize, you can sell, you can transport optimum units rather than some space getting thing. So here I want to tell you that, like, one Indian construction company got a project abroad. So it's kind of very far from here, and they have to transport goods, the construction materials from India to that particular foreign place. And first time they send the whole items, they forgot to send some connection components. So that's a mistake from the operations manager or inventory or people who ships that, right? So the contract says that you have to sell it, you have to send that in a particular transshipment unit, and something like that. So the whole previously sent materials were kept in that place, and they started constructing, and they realized that the connection point was not there, or connection units were not there. So it halts the project there. So the company have to resend it, but you see the same container with the whole units empty, only the small connection units were sent. So as simple as that. So inventories are very important. So when you don't, provide an optimum package to transfer, then it's going to be a huge loss for a company. So as simple as that. It looks pretty simple, but when you really do in a real time scenario, these things are very complex. For this case, people generally prefer linear programming problem, right? And traffic flow management and police patrol problems, all those things can be solved using linear programming problem. Like, this is pretty much a civil engineering problem, like transportation. We have a separate course in civil engineering called transportation engineering. So public can use linear programming problem to solve those, uh, solve those, necessary problems occurs in transportation sector. Then personal management, it's all about human resource, something like how do you recruit people, how do you provide training, how do you give advertisement also matters. That's what we talk about that in marketing and media. So we will take a problem on advertisement strategy in the subsequent lectures. But understand that HR management and sometimes even developing a drug, good, medicine, by different combination of different things. You can use linear programming problem, and this is called nutrition supplement. Like sports people, they have to optimize their level of nutrients, like how the vitamin intake, the mineral intake, and something like that. So those things can also be, dealt with linear programming problem. Like as I told you, the drug design, the medication, the psychometric problem, and even the treatment planning. Like for the cancer patients, they can go with chemotherapy or radiation. So some papers, literatures are available on that. They have used, medical doctors have used linear programming problem to make some meaningful information for treating cancer patients. And next is the business in finance and economics. And we have a course in civil engineering called Economics and Business Finance for civil engineers. I hope there will be some course on cost related stuff for mechanical engineers also, when which they look into all the fund allocations, the bidding, the contracts, then currency arbitrage. Currency arbitrage is the modernistic way of dealing international project management, when which we look into the currency conversion, and also we looked into the other aspects related to currency and its inflation and so other things. And cut and fill hall cost, like this is a typical example of a bridge construction, when which you cut down the soil and place the pylon or the pier of the bridge. Then you, how do you make use of the debris and other related stuffs and something like that. Then shadow pricing and costing and microeconomics and supply chain management and purchasing and combinatorial problems are associated with business, finance, and economics were dealt with linear programming problem. Then quality control and inspection and products, strength, adequacy, safety of structural systems, be it a civil engineering systems or mechanical systems, the reliability, all these things can be called using quality control, quality control um, perspective, right? And infrastructure and environment. And before we get into infrastructure and environment, it's also have environmental or sustainability associated with this. Like how do you make use of your real estate development in a particular area, urban planning, and water quality management, solid waste management, pollution control, and land use and allocations and regional plannings and so on. All those things can be dealt with linear programming problem. And this is very important, military or armed forces. Originally LPP was used for military sectors only. Later on, after maybe 1940s and 1950s, it gets used for civilian sectors. In the military, they looked into deployment planning. How do you place people or provide strategy so that you have a maximum protection and damage to the enemies and something like that. Field artillery planning, logistic. How do you transfer, food stocks and machineries, gunneries, and or even bombardment problems? They to look into a place where they can throw the bombs at having a maximum destruction, something like that. So tactical plannings and warfare, so something like that. And it's also used in naval research, like ship and vessel trim problems and other related stuff. It's very similar to the cargo loading and other stuff related to navy, right? So this is not a complete list, I can tell you, but this is some important applications or some important areas of applications where you can use linear programming problem. So this is one of the really good things that you should really look into before we get into the further steps or something like that. Right. So next is a linear programming problem, algebraic formulation. In fact, we talked about the solving itself. So formulation is just how you make meaningful information out of the given a word problem, right? Say this is a maximization problem. This is a very simple problem. It's called a Gordner's problem. Gordner's assigned to create a shrubbery, which is a group of plants together. Consists of two varieties of shrubs. Shrubs is short. You cannot call that it will be a tree nor a plant, but instead an intermediate stuff like shrubbery. And an arbovitae, which is Tuja in a scientific name, and boxwood, it's Boxus sempervenus. So this is another thing. So you can take a look at that in Google. So that looks very good. But the area of shrubbery is limited. This is where the LPP comes into picture because we don't have much area. So we could get a maximum of 20 individual shrubs. So it could be 5, it could be 15, it could be 10, it could be 10, it could be 15, it could be 5, or it could be 18, it could be 2. So whatever might be, the maximum is 20. So you can plant only 20 individual shrubs. The gardener was given an advance of rupees 6,000 and told to purchase on RBOT and boxwood, but not more than 200 and 400 respectively. Say he was given 6,000, but uh, he was not allowed to spend more than 200 rupees per RBOT and 400 rupees per boxwood plant. Right? So if the gardener makes a profit of rupees 45 in planting RBOT and rupees 80 in planting boxwood, formulate this problem as a linear programming problem. Right. So do you understand the problem? So there's a limited space. It can accommodate only 20 uh, shrubs, and gardener is given only 6,000 rupee, when which he was not allowed to spend 200 rupees, more than 200 rupees for RBOT and 400 rupees for boxwood. And finally, he gets a profit of rupees 45 in planting one and arbovitae and 80 rupees in boxwood. So we need to formulate like number of arbovitae and number of boxwood planted in that particular garden, right? So first we do is we will take x1 to be a number of arbovitae and x2, or you can even take x and y. So if you have a limited thing, and this is a typical example of linear programming problem in two variables and something like that. And we have got only one shrubs of arbovitae, one shrubs of boxwood, 1 into x plus 1 into y, or 1 into x1 plus 1 into y. You cannot have greater than 20, so which means it is less than equals to 20, right? And cost of shrubs is 200 rupees into the number of RBOT, which is 200 x1, and 400 into x2, which is boxwood. And he was given only a maximum of 6,000 rupee. So you need to spend, it is less than equals to 60. But profit of one RBOT is 45. So 45 into x1 plus 80 into x2 will be your objective function. So our objective function is maximizing the profit. So C1 x1 plus C2 x2 equals to 45 x1 plus 80 x2. So C1 coefficient of RBOT is 45, whereas coefficient of x2 is 80, and so on, right? And we have got two linear constraints. One is 1x1 plus 1x2 is less than equals to 20, and 200x1 plus 400x2 less than equals to 6,000, right? So you can even remove this coefficient 1, so you can have this particular thing, right? And this is a non-negativity restriction. So this is how you solve the linear programming problem. So you can solve them and you can find out the numbers. And also, like, let's say we'll add one more constraint to it. Like, if the gardeners insisted to plant at least 12 numbers of arbiote shrub to maintain adequate drainage in the shrubbery, they say you need to have at least 12. Now, you remember in the previous class we talked about the verbal meaning for the notation corresponding to the verbal text or something like that. At least is greater than equals to, right? So in all the case, in maximization case, it's all less than equals to. Those This is a standard linear programming problem. But sometimes we might encounter at least 12, which means you can have 12 and above, but minimum should be 12. So that's why it is greater than equals to. And that is why it is called mixed linear programming. Not mixed linear programming problem, mixed inequalities. So we have got greater than equals to for a maximization case, which is a different entity. So we have got 1 x1 plus 0 x2, which means we don't have any x2. So we only talked about x1 in terms of greater than equals to 12. Arbivote greater than equals to 12, and this is x1 greater than equals to 12. So this is a very, very interesting thing now. So we have added to it, but we can also define this third, third constraints into a different thing. So we know that the total shrubbery is 20, and we say that this RBOT is minimum of 12. So we can even say 20 minus 12 is 8. So we should, uh, have a boxwood not more than 8. So which means that we have got a very good thing, which is kind of a go in tandem with the maximization case, because we have got the lesser than equals to it. So 0x1, because we're not talking about RBOT, but a boxwood, which is 1 into x2 less than equals to 8. So we know that total is 20. Then the maximum possible in the particular shrubbery is 20 shrubs. But we had another constraint called 12, minimum of 12, RBOT. So minimum of 12x1. So 20 minus 12 is 8. So we cannot have more than 8. Maximum of thing will be 8. So we cannot have more than 8x2. So that's why we have got x2 less than equals to. So this is, or it is not. We cannot take this. We can even take this constraint and you can do it. But you can take any one of this. You can take any one of this. Is almost proportional. If you take x1 is greater than equals to 12, which means that we are indirectly saying that RBOT has to be minimum 12 and maximum till 20, right? But in this case, we say maximum is 8, minimum could be 0. So as simple as that. The boxwood can be from 0 to 8, as simple as that. And which means that we can have the rest to be RBOT. So as simple as that. So this is how you just generally, plan the stuff or something like that, right? This is the example for a minimization case. Let's do this so that you understand much better. First is a tannery industry disposes of its effluent, which is a wastewater, after treating it with two standard products, like product A and product B, into a nearby natural water source. Right. So each of these two products consist of two types of antipollutants. Like the product A has AP1 and AP2, which is antipollutant, which is the pollution degrading unit or a compound, which talks about destroying the pollutants in the effluent or something like that. And in product A, it has got 12 kilograms in AP1 of AP1 and 5 kilograms of AP2. Whereas in product B, we have got 4 kilograms of AP1 and 13 kilograms of AP2, and minimum hourly requirements, which means it is greater than equals to 36. Minimum 36 hours you should operate for product A, and minimum 48 hours gets operated for product B, and the cost of product A is 45 per kilogram and cost of product B is 90 kilogram. So our objective is to formulate this as a linear programming problem to minimize the total cost of the mixture of the standard products by optimizing the quantities of anti-pollutants. So just just read through it, pay attention to it, then we'll solve this problem. Just take a look at that quickly, and if you could grab a sheet of paper and you could start writing the constraint equations. It's very simple. It is a minimization case. Is z min equals to 45x1 plus 90x2 or 45x plus 90y, so depending upon your convention, then followed by um, the AP1 and AP2, which is 12 and 5 and 4 and 13. So will be 12 plus 4, 12x1 plus 4x2 less than equals to 36, and 5 x1 plus 13x2 less than equals to 48. So just jot down that, and you'll have an equations ready. Try to solve, equate it, remove the inequalities and put the equal to symbols in the constraints, and solve the two linear equations, which is I repeat 12x1 plus 4x2 equals to 36. 5x1 plus 13x2 equals to 48. So try to solve that problem. All right, so I think you had time to jot down the equations. Let's try to solve that using computers. In this case, I'm going to use Python for solving it, but this is just for understanding and methodology. Say this is Python, the Jupyter notebook. I'm going to type in the name linear programming problem. Effluent problem. Right, so I'm going to save this. First, I'm gonna do a package import. So import NumPy, which is a numerical package, NumPy as NP, and I'm gonna enter. That will process that. Then I'm gonna give. We'll try to solve that using matrix method. So what I'm gonna give us, I'm gonna put first matrix, matrix one, which is the coefficient matrix, which is np dot array multiplied by, to put this is the nomenclature, open bracket and close bracket and open and close bracket. So below that we have to write it in terms of equation. So we'll have got 12 comma 4, which is the first row, which is I told you 12x1 plus 4x2 equals to 36, right? So that one, then followed by 5 comma 13, say 5 comma 13, and we have got a matrix. Let's type in and see the matrix. You see the matrix is 12 4 5 3, and we have got another matrix, but before, yeah, it calculates inverse. It calculates the inverse, right? Something like that. In a previous case, we'll get inverse with inverse, but the Python code, Python 3, now we have to look into all the other aspects also, right? Now what we do is we will put mat2, which is our RHS equation, right hand side coefficient equation. So I'm gonna put it np.array. We have got only two things, no, 36 and 48. 8. I'm gonna put that as the mat2, which is mat2 was this. Yeah, it's correct. Now we're gonna do we put result res result, something that you can give any nomenclature. Then I'm gonna put np dot, which is the multiplication matrix multiplication. I'm gonna multiply the inverse comma this matrix mat2 and res. Yeah, here it is the solution. X1 is 2.02 and X2 is 2.91, and your Z max, you can even define your Z max to be 2 times 45, something like that. Z equals to 2, I mean, what is that 45? What is the um, objective function we have defined? It's 45 and 90, no? 45 multiplied by 2.03 plus 90 multiplied by 2.91, something like that, right? 353. So your objective function is 353 rupees. So this is a typical example of solving a linear programming problem using computers or something like that, right? So this is a quick example. I just require, I just request you to do the manual computation for the minimization case. I'll upload that in the Google Drive link. So download it and start doing your um, minimization problem.